Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86. Here you will find everything from your favorite characters from anime, series or movies, such as figures, statues, trading cards, and other limited special edition items. I will show you everything that is included. For example, we will discuss the design of the box, how it's packaged, the design of the figure, the articulation points, the accessories that are included, and we will see our favorite characters in special scenes. And you never know, you might see other characters make special guest appearances, so you can decide whether it's worth getting or not. Subscribe and join me on new weekly adventures. Now let's start the show. Let's go. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86 and today I am at Chicago at the Field Museum to check out this Pokemon Fossil exhibition. I'm gonna say this is the front side of the building where you have access by vehicle and also where the parking deck takes you. Now this is the other side of the building, so for this one you can see this section of the building if you're driving south on Lakeshore Drive. On this side you get a much better banner than on the other side. And here you can see that it's more dedicated towards the Pokemon Fossil Museum section. So you're greeted by 3 different Pokemon. So you have Pikachu in the excavator outfit, along with Archeops and Auroras. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I like how they did the presentation of the museum to show you the special exhibition that is taking now place. And in case you're wondering, this exhibition is available now all the way till April 11th, 2027. So if you haven't gone up there to check it out, I suggest you make plans and hit your way over there. But you can continue to watch this video to use as a guide to what you can expect on your visit. When you first walk into the museum, you're greeted by several dinosaur fossils. So here's just an example of some of those, and you also have some elephants. But I'm going to save my experience on the Field Museum for a different type of video, because today's video will be focused on the Pokemon Fossil exhibition. Once you find the entry point to the exhibition, you're basically greeted with a bunch of different Pokemon graphics. You have Pikachu in his excavator outfit. The waiting line is decorated with some of the fossil Pokemon that are featured in this exhibition. Upon entry to the exhibition, you are given an Archeops Pokemon card. And in case you're wondering, this is the same card that is featured on both the Japanese and North American White Flare expansions. The only difference is that you get the Pikachu as a paleontologist. Upon entry, you are immediately greeted with an Aerodactyl with an excavation Pikachu sitting on top. In case you missed my video of the fossilized Aerodactyl, I suggest you go check it out. But when you look to your left, you have this cutout of Professor Willemi that gives you a quick introduction of what Pokemon is. You then have a display of a plush Pikachu along with the 3 starter Pokemon from the base set. So you have Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle, which is where everything started with Pokemon trading card game. Afterwards, you have a greet of the video games showing you Professor Oak from the very first Pokemon game. Then it gives you an introduction of all the different Pokemon types. So as you can see, over the years there have been more types being out there. So here's a quick introduction to every single Pokemon type that exists, along with a Pokemon as an example. If you like what you have seen, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share the video. You also have some very nice graphics of Pokemon pictures shown at the beginning of the exhibition. So here you have Lucario with a Dragonite. And honestly, when you come to this museum, you have all these backdrops, which makes it ideal for taking pictures of yourself. If you come in with your family or your friends, you can basically do poses and all that with Pokemon in the background. Now you have the video game section of the original Game Boy, along with Pokemon Red and Blue. And honestly, looking at these 2 boxes, you can see that time has taken a factor on them. I would expect them to be in perfect condition, but here you can see that they are coming in used. I'm pretty sure these came from someone's personal collection that still had them versus fresh prints. Then it gives you an introduction of Pokemon evolution. So here you have the Charmander, Charmeleon, and the Charizard as an example, followed by all the different Pokeballs that are available. So you have the regular Pokeball all the way to the Master Ball, along with all the other ones that came in throughout the different generations. And finally, you have a quick introduction of what this Pokemon Fossil Museum really is. So on this panel, it gives you a brief quick summary of what Pokemon fossils are and what you can expect from this exhibition. So one thing to note, if you notice closely here, it talks about 11 different kinds of Pokemon fossils that goes from the old Ember, Dumb Fossil, the Helix, Claw, Root, Armor, Skull, Jaw, Cell, Cover, and the Plume fossils. But if you're keeping up with the latest and greatest, you will realize there are 4 more fossils that are missing, which is basically the bird, fish, drake, and dino. So this exhibition is covering everything prior to Gen 8. Then you have a nice display of all the Pokemon fossils that have been discovered so far, along with the mascot of the Pikachu and his excavator outfit, which I really like this. It's got some nice details and everything, and I like how they basically introduce you all the way from the start of Pokemon to how it has evolved over the years, along with the main theme of the museum and how it correlates with real world stuff. So you can kind of see where some of the exploration came from as far as these fossil Pokemon and relevance to actual fossils that are being discovered. And again, for this museum, in case you're wondering, it does have a dinosaur section. And what I found very interesting is that it has its own actual lab for actual fossils. Now, in case you're wondering what the difference is between a paleontologist versus an archaeologist, the things are very simple. An archaeologist basically studies human history, prehistory, and material culture, which is mostly stuff that is man-made. But a paleontologist studies prehistoric life, which includes animals, plants, and microorganisms. For example, fossils, skeletal remains, and other biological imprints. And both fields sometimes overlap because they both include excavating and digging, and they use similar techniques to understand the age of the items that they find, and they also use similar tools. Here's an example of another tool that paleontologists use. This is what they call an air scribe, which uses pressurized air to create rapid vibrations, which chips away material like a mini jackhammer. So for this fossil belonging to an Archaeopteryx, they use ultraviolet light to help highlight some of the hard to see details, for example the fossilized tissue. So this allowed them to study the animal like it has never been done before, for example looking at the skin and the scales on the feet. So what the video is showing is a reconstruction of a CT scan from an Archaeopteryx, where the CT scan helps in preparation for the fossils, which helps the paleontologist know how far to chisel before they risk damaging any bone structure. So here you can see some images showing the origin of the Archaeopteryx. So here's a sculpture of the Archaeopteryx, which is believed to be the first bird, which is what Archaeops is based off, known as the first bird Pokemon. Then you have the bulletin that basically shows Archon and Archaeops. So here you can see how they did Archaeops from Archon, showing the plume fossil. The museum has a recurring theme. It gives you a quick introduction of the Pokemon fossil, the Pokemon that comes from the fossil, its evolution line, along with some details. Then it gives you where the Pokemon is based off the real fossil that it was inspired from. And then it follows by giving you a quick summary of that particular fossil, along with an image of it representing that, which I really like how they did the whole layout and the strategy. Next one, you have Kabuto, along with Kabutops. So in this one, you get a quick briefing of what the Pokemon's history is, just as a quick introduction. Then you're presented with the Thumb fossil, which looks really cool. You can see the details that they engraved into the fossil. Then here you have a sculpture of Kabuto with the light up effects, lighting up the eyes towards the bottom. And the other thing that they did here is they basically dedicated a nice display. So what they did is they created a diorama. If you focus in the background, it will show the Pokemon environment that it lived in, showing the full evolution line. So in each display, you have a quick summary of the Pokemon, followed by a model of the fossil, the first evolution, the second evolution. Then you have a quick summary of the actual fossil that the Pokemon is based off. And finally, you have displays of an actual fossil. So I really like the whole setup of how they did the whole thing. and it's really got some nice graphics. It's very captivating, and honestly, if you actually read through each one of the bulletins, you might actually learn something. For this trip, I'm very sure that the kids will enjoy. And same thing, if you're a big Pokemon fan, you will be reminiscing about all these fossilized Pokemon, especially when you first encounter them while playing the video games. A big one that comes to my mind is picking the Helix in the Dome fossils, as well as the Old Ember, where you would always have to make that choice at the end of Mount Moon. And that is a recurring theme in all the Pokemon, where you pick one fossil over the other one, where the game pushes you to make a choice and there's no going back once the choice is done. There's a couple life lessons in there as well. Here's the big one, Tyrantrum, and in case you haven't seen my unboxing review of the fossilized mini scale version, I suggest you go check it out. I had a lot of fun with that particular video, and that made me appreciate this Pokemon even more. So in general, on the whole exhibition, if you're only looking at the displays without actually reading, you could probably breeze through it in between 10 and 15 minutes, which if you notice when you buy the tickets, each one is divided into a 15-minute entry. But if you come with your kids and you're actually reading throughout every pamphlet, then I would say it would take you about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how much you stop on every little detail. So it's enough to see it, but honestly, I think they could have did more to show more of the Pokemon fossils. So on this video, as you can see, I'm only showing you brief ones. I'm not going to show you everything to give it away. The whole point of this is for you to see what it's about, and honestly, it's really about the experience for you to come and see it for yourself. The pictures and the videos here don't do it justice. It's a lot better if you see it in person and get that experience firsthand. And there are a lot of things here that I'm not including just to avoid taking away from the exhibition. So the video is more of a preview of what you can expect when you come here to take a look at it, and also to give you an insight of what you can expect as far as the layout and the overview of what it is. I really like the graphics that they included with each one of the Pokemon, as well as how they introduced the inspiration that the Pokemon draws from, which again, it all ties back to an actual fossil, and the details on the sculptures, they're really good. And honestly, if one of these came out for sale, I wouldn't mind having one. I think they're really great, as you can see in the details, and I tried to get as many angles as I could from them, and obviously it was a packed, crowded place. So for these, if you're planning, I suggest you buy the tickets well ahead of time. This is not something that you can do on the fly. You actually have to plan for it, because it seems that these tickets do sell out for the days. So on the front of the museum, it would let you know if the tickets were sold out or not. And basically from the time I spent here, they were already sold out. As far as each one of the individual Pokemon fossils go, I want to say that they're all 1-for-1 scale of the actual Pokemon's actual size. So standing next to them, you can see how it would be if you was next to that Pokemon, showing them in their actual size. So this is something worth visiting, especially when you come with friends or the family with the kids. It's really dedicated and geared more towards the kids to expand their interest in the paleontologist field with the fossils and the dinosaurs, and tying them back into the Pokemon, just to help them draw the connection while also teaching them about the field. And also, don't forget to wear your favorite Pokemon shirt, because that is one thing that really stood out throughout the whole museum. You can really tell who was there for the Pokemon exhibition. So once again, don't forget to wear your favorite Pokemon shirt, and especially if you have matching ones. That was also something else. Once you're done going through the exhibition, towards the end, you're given a voucher, which then allows you to enter the Pokemon exhibition store. And that one, they were very specific on the guidelines. For example, the voucher was your only way to get in. And with this voucher, you could either get it to get an Excavator Pikachu plush, or you can use it to buy some of the items that they had in the store. Honestly, when I entered that Pokemon store, it felt like the scene from Jingle All the Way, when all the people were rushing in there just buying all the toys. Literally, it was almost chaos. There was people everywhere and everyone was trying to grab something. But some of the stuff that they had there was the Pikachu excavation plush doll. Then to my surprise, they had the fossilized Aerodactyl. In case you haven't seen my video, I suggest you go check it out. But if you're in the market to getting one, there's one spot where you could easily find it. They also had the Tyrantrum Pokemon fossil as well, which again, if you didn't check out my video, I suggest you go check it out. So if you're in there, these are 2 items that I would suggest for you to get. Then another thing that drew my attention was the Lego Pikachu, as you see here, which honestly it still looked just as bad in person than it did in the picture of the box. They also had other stuff. For example, they had some keychains, they had some of those Pokemon eyeglasses that you could wear, they had some Pokemon hats, they also had some Pokemon shirts. They had them both long sleeve, short sleeve, they had pajamas, they had sweatpants, sweaters, button down shirts. They were all Pokemon Fossil themed, but nevertheless it was a really good experience. I did have a lot of fun going through the exhibition, seeing all these fossilized Pokemon and seeing how they drew the inspiration from real fossils and the real dinosaurs that were inspired from. So again, if you're in the Chicago area, I suggest you go check out this exhibition. The way I see it, it's a must-have on your Pokemon journey. This is all I have for you today. If you like what you have seen, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll see you next week with a brand new video. Thank you and bye.